At this time, we say pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then at this time, we're gonna read our oaths and sign them, so we'll start maybe with Janine, and go around the table that way.
I, Janine Lynch, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Board of Education Member for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability. Your turn.
I, Elisa Brewer, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Board of Education Member for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
I, Roger Kendall, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Board of Education Member for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
I, Jessica Bartlett, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Board of Education Member for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
I, Shawn Michael, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Board of Education Member for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
I, Edwin Shaskell, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of the Board of Education Member for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
I, Donald J. Shepherdson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Superintendent of Schools for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
At this time, we'll ask for nominations for president, board president.
Go ahead.
Jessica Bartlett.
Second.
Do we have any other nominations for president? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, everybody did, okay. All right.
My turn now?
You're-
Now you're back.
Wow,
You're
that's-
back.
Like, phew.
Okay, nominations for Vice President,
Shauna.
second. Elisa, all in favor?
Ask for any nominations.
Oh, any other nominations for Vice President? No?
There you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Are
I
we
know
doing
what we have
both
to
of
do.
those?
We have to have,
You have to do their oaths.
yeah. So we'll do president first.
I, Jessica Bartlett, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of President of the Board of Education for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
I, Shauna Michael, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Vice President of the Board of Education for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Okay. So do I have to read each person?
Nope, you just go.
Just
Board officers.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. A motion to approve the board appointment of officers as resolved that the Board of Education appoint each of the individuals listed on your sheet.
Motion.
Janine, second? Pete, all in favor?
And now Ellie and I do our.
Okay.
I, Kelly Crossett, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of District Treasurer for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my abilities.
I, Karen Chase, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of District Clerk for the West Canada Valley Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Okay. Yep. Okay, a motion to approve other appointments. School physician services, school attorney, school district auditor, central treasurer auditor, fiscal advisor, district data management, CSE, CPSE chairperson, officials for bid opening, data protection officer, affirmative action, and Title IX officer, asbestos designee, pesticide representative, Medicare Part B management, dignity coordinators, arts and education, and that's it. Shauna first,
Second.
Janine second, all in favor? Okay, a motion to approve the board designations of official bank depositories, official newspaper, the regular Board of Education meeting date and time, records management and access officer, the records appeal designee, residency determination official, 504 coordinator. District holidays for 2023 and 2024.
Just want to make a note on that. Your attached is your board meetings for this upcoming school year. If you want to just draw your attention to that for a second.
Separate.
Yeah, it's a separate sheet on this. I have August 7th, that is a little bit earlier, it's the second Tuesday, wasn't until the the second Monday, wasn't until the 14th, so you have August 7th on there, and then another one on August 28th at the end if needed. And then also note in October, that is a Tuesday as well because of Columbus Day. So that the Columbus Day is on the 9th. So those are the only, I believe, oddball, and I believe, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, the April board meeting is on the 15th, which is a little bit later, which accounts for the spring break. That's the other one.
Okay. Motion to approve those. Shauna first. Janine second, all in favor. Okay, motion to approve the Committee on Special Education. Do I need to know?
You probably should read this down here, Liza.
CSE chairperson, school psychologist, building administrators, regular education teachers, special education teachers, related service providers, guidance counselors, parents, or persons in parental relationship to the student, school physician. Janine first. Well, Lisa second. It's so confusing because I'm so used to people being in a specific seat. Elisa, second, all in favor. A motion to approve the Committee on Preschool Special Education, CPSE chairperson, school psychologist, building administrators, regular education teachers, special education teachers, providers, related service providers, parents, or persons in parental relationship to the child, professionals designated by early intervention agencies, charged with the responsibility of the preschool child, school physician, parent member, and municipality representative. Impartial hearing officers, surrogate parents, and central drop points. And there are attached lists to the impartial hearing officers and surrogate parents.
So those are, that question comes up every year, those are provided to us directly, so that's where those names come from on those lists for you.
Motion.
Janine first. Lisa second, all in favor. Okay. Motion to approve board authorizations, payroll certification, establish petty cash funds, designation of authorized signatures on checks, purchasing agent, mileage allowance, transfer of funds, and signature for National School for Food Service Program.
And the district rate.
Okay, and district rate sheet, which also has the chart attached. Shauna first,
Second.
Janine second, all in favor.
Quick question.
Yes.
Signatures on checks, just school treasurer, do we have anybody else?
District treasurer?
Yeah. But that's the treasurer's position to do that, yeah.
I just thought, like, if she's not here, is there somebody else that can sign those checks?
So technically, no, right now, no.
Okay.
I mean,
We could do a deputy, but
yeah. Yeah, but we don't have one.
Okay. Motion to approve the bonding of personnel. The records access copying fee, authorization to approve conferences, adoption of policies in effect during previous fiscal year, adoption of district code of conduct in effect during previous fiscal year, and approval of the tellers for school elections, which also has a list. Shauna first. Janine second, all in favor. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Motion.
Janine first, Shauna second, all in favor.
Everybody forgot?
I'll find my way. I'm not shy.
So you can call next meeting.
Okay. We're moving on to,
Come on.
we don't have. Okay, welcome to the West Canada Valley Board of Education regular meeting. We will not stand for the pledge again, since we already did that. We will hear from some administrators. We have Mr. Ray here.
So this past month, DOT physicals were completed on June 21st. Everything's been sent into the state, just waiting to hear back that they received all the driver's physicals. Summer transportation started. Our transportation here started last Wednesday, last Wednesday. And then the other transportation started a month today. Total of 8 runs going. So we have 8 drivers and 2 monitors working over the summer. DOT inspections will be here on the 11th, which is next week. The new small bus, we got that on the road. We got the camera system installed, so you'll probably see that out running around. The bus number is 192. That's pretty much it for the month.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray, just while you're up here quick, we're gonna talk about this a little bit later in the action items. You received a request for transportation, out-of-district transportation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yep, so I had a family call from Newport, probably 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, asking about transportation to Mont Valley Christian Academy. I told them the deadline was April 1st, but they could request transportation after that. They have to request it to you guys. However, you guys don't have to approve it, and I let them know that. So they sent a letter in to us, to me and to you guys. It was dated July 5th, I think was the date of the letter. Requesting transportation there, and their excuse for it is that they didn't know, in case they got repaired in that letter. And I don't know, do you have the info
Yeah,
that I printed
yeah,
out?
I've given all, everybody has their info, we'll take a look at this later. So this is something that, we really haven't, since I've been doing this, we haven't had somebody come, you know, have a formal request to the board after the deadline for this. For a couple of reasons, most people do realize that April 1st is the deadline. If somebody moves into the district after April 1st, they have a right to transportation, so that's an automatic yes. That is not the case here. This is a student or students that were homeschooled, they've lived in the district and have been homeschooled, that are making a change to the Christian Academy, which is located in Little Falls. So the other part that doesn't fall into this is a lot of times if we get a late request, it's been to somewhere we're already going. So that's another reason to do that. The only people that can grant a request to a location that we are not traveling to, and we are not traveling to the Mohawk Valley Christian Academy right now, is the board. So we haven't had this at this point in time. So I will say in any other cases, we've basically told some different people that that's, you know, probably not going to happen this year, but if you get them in by April 1st of the next year, you're good to go, and most people are there. But this particular family put in a formal request for that. You know, which will require us to take action one way or the other on that. I can tell you, obviously we haven't had that request. We have not approved late requests here before since I've been doing this. And the only ones that would ever get an opportunity in the last 8 years to do that would be if, like I already told you, either they moved into the district or we were already going to that location. We have not created a new route for somebody who put in a late request.
And have we approved them before?
We have not approved those before, yeah.
No, even if you get it in by the deadline, have we approved it?
Yes, you have to do that.
Yes.
As long as they put it in by April 1st and they're within the mileage, you have to approve those. Yep.
And that's mandated. If you look at the regulations that we gave you, there's actually things in there that state unreasonable excuses and reasonable excuses. And one of the excuses is, it says, is a late, not knowing the deadline or not getting it by the deadline is not an excuse. It's not a reasonable excuse, so. Just, but you guys could approve however you want to do it, but knowing that if we do that going forward, we're making a.
Yeah, so we have this added as an action item later on, but while Mr. Ray was up here, I wanted to just, in case there were any further questions, Mr. Schatz had a question, I just want to make sure that we answer that so that you, you know, can, when we make a motion later to approve or deny this request, you have good knowledge of this. So just to kind of recap it, no, never approved anybody that has put in a late request to a new location. Have not done that. I can't speak for years and years ago, but I can speak for the last 8 years that we've been here. We don't generally approve requests after the deadline because to places that we don't go to. If you do that, you're kind of eliminating that deadline as like artificial. So, you know what I mean? So that's you know, kind of how that works with that. And then, you know, like Mr. Schatzel just asked, if we've done this before, that's the question that will come up. And the answer right now is no. But after this, if you vote that through, then it would be yes. Yes, we have done this. And then you'd have to have good justification why you did that. So right now, in their letter, as you'll see in your little packet that I gave you with this, basically they just were unaware of the deadline. That's not in the legal documents a viable excuse. So.
I just feel like if they're homeschooled, I don't think they're gonna know, I don't think they would know what the deadline was anyways. You know, unless they were, I mean, they just contacted the school recently about it.
Yeah, in July, right?
I
Yeah,
have
the
no
first
idea
time
when
we've
they
heard.
Contact Mohawk. I have no idea when they contacted Mohawk Valley Christian Academy.
Right.
Right,
But
okay,
the private schools are well aware of that.
right.
So,
Okay, I got you.
yeah, so sometimes when they do the private school will contact us directly and say they have a family. I don't even know if this family is registered at the Christian Academy at this point in time. I think they're trying to figure out whether they have transportation, and if it's yes, then they're going to enroll there. That's what I think is going on with this particular situation, but, yeah.
But like I said, if you read that article, the papers that DJ gave you, that's the printout of the SED law book. And that can clarify a little bit more for you guys.
But I don't see why we'll have a deadline if we're not gonna enforce it.
Right.
So, does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Ray? Again, that'll be an action item we'll just kind of briefly discuss again at that point in time when we get to that, but I just wanted to know why he's up giving his report, if you had any further questions on this topic. Yeah, good point. Kelly mentioned that's a state deadline, that's not a West Canada deadline, so I want to make sure you're clear on that. Yeah, that's regardless of what school district you're in.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Great.
Mr. Doherty, you're the lone guy here tonight.
I don't have much since last month for you, but our fall sports, all of our schedules are complete right now. We still have the girls soccer kickoff tournament. The boys aren't going to be a part of that this year because we're trying, to field the JV team, which since our last meeting, I did sit down with all of them. I had all the modified and the JV boys come in. At this time, we have 11 and 11 interested in both, so that is just enough to field teams for that. So we'll go with it. The uniform situation that we talked about there before, I don't think at this time there's any sense buying new uniforms with the uncertainty of it. If you end up with both teams, I think then you address it and you get the uniforms for the upcoming year.
Mr. Doherty, can I stop you right at that 1 second?
Sure can,
So you have 11 and 11. You also talked to these other districts about the potential, because we're like right at the minimum of being able to
Yeah.
play. So if we were missing, a kid was sick, whatever it might be, they're willing to play last.
Sure, we can play 10 versus 10 because of the JV, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to go that route as opposed to the varsity, because no varsity team's gonna do that, which then you're gonna be playing a man down with no subs and you're gonna get beat, and that's no way to build a program up, is sending kids out there to get killed every game, so. Any other questions on that? Okay. Boys 8-man schedule is complete. You have 5 home games, and when you look at the schedule, yes, there is one Labor Day weekend. That is normally the scrimmage weekend, but we were able to secure a game there. Ticonderoga was looking for one, wanted a game. I said, if you're willing to drive here 3 hours, we'll play you. So they're coming here, and it's a 2 o'clock game. So we're playing that one a little bit later to give them the travel time. So all of our other home games are the normal 12 o'clock, but that one will be at 2 o'clock. Cross-country schedules are all set, except for the invitationals. The information hasn't come out on that yet. We continue to work with HCCC in case the pool is not done for us in the fall. They are going to allow us to do it. Mr. Ray's working on transportation for us to bus the girls down. We will bring our own coach and our own lifeguard with us every day down there, and they're okay with that so far. JV soccer, I just said we're all set for that, and officials. So this is something I want to talk about. Right now, currently, we have officials assigned for every fall varsity contest that we have here and our JV boys. Modified hasn't come out yet, they haven't done those. But the soccer centers have already told us that Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays are absolutely unavailable for reschedule. So I just want you to be aware of how bad the official crisis is. If you reschedule a game for some reason and you got a concert, you're not doing it, you're not making that game up. And then in the sports where games count towards your sectional seeding, that's super important, because if you lose a game, you lose points, and that's going to affect where you get placed in there. So people keep saying it, but I just want everybody to realize that it is real. So, but we're all set for football, we're all set for soccer now. Not too many reschedules in the fall, so I'm hoping we'll be all right there. As for winter sports, I went over it last week. Nothing has changed from that, other than the fact we did get our league schedule, so I was able to schedule your non-league games for that too. So for boys and girls, JV and varsity, you can go on Schedule Galaxy and you can see every game that we have for the upcoming winter. Indoor track, there's nothing yet because the section drives that schedule, so they're still looking for Utica University dates, so that'll come out afterwards. And as far as spring, we don't have anything for those schedules yet. The one thing I do want to say is I've had numerous people reach out and thanked us for the fitness center and the hallway walking, so I would recommend to you that we proceed with that again next year. I don't think it was too much of a cost, and it was nice having a school official in the fitness center, so you didn't have to worry about anything, but you do what you want with that. But numerous people came up and said how great that was and had a nice opportunity to do that, so.
Is the fitness center closed down for the?
Fitness center's closed down now.
Okay, I had
We
somebody
ran-
ask me,
Yep,
and
we
I
just
couldn't
ran to the
remember.
end of the school year, and then
Okay.
that was it, so.
Okay.
Mr. Russo did both of those, didn't he?
So Mr. Russo did, and Mrs. Santmeyer did it too. So Mr. Russo
Oh,
did
they
2 nights a week, and then
together?
Mrs. Santmeyer did, not together.
Oh.
So Mrs. Santmeyer worked on Mondays, and I think he was Wednesday, Thursdays, or Tuesday, Wednesdays. But then they filled in for each other too. When he couldn't make it, she was able to do it, and then she was able to do it.
It'd be nice if we gave them a thank you note.
Okay.
And you gave him a paycheck. That's thanks. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
motion
Okay,
to.
make one quick one.
Yep.
Do we have the extra minutes in there, right? We're approving tonight.
Yes.
Okay, so,
Oh.
so there was an adjustment if you saw it in the previous month's minutes because of the vote tally, right, Karen? Can you kind of explain what that was? It was just a number that was incorrect, correct?
Yeah, when they transferred the numbers over from the sheet where they all tallied
Yep.
up, there was a,
The actual, for the
It's
budget.
222
yeah,
instead of
just for the budget
221.
vote.
Yeah, so it's 222 instead of 221. So we want to make sure that you have minutes of the accurate vote count for the budget. That's all. It was in there.
Miss Casey's assistant.
Okay, so
Yes.
we,
I wasn't gonna mention that, but so I wanna make sure you just have accurate vote count in there.
but we don't have that on what we're approving right now, right? Because it hasn't been changed.
It was in
It was in your.
Yeah, it was, you got two different minutes, so I just wanna reapprove them, so that when we
Okay.
book the minutes, you have the correct information.
So we
That's
got
all.
the correct ones.
Yeah, so when you
Yes.
approve your consent agenda, it'll encompass
It'll
all
come
of those.
those.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Janine first. And Elisa second, all in favor. Okay. Motion to enter executive session for the appointment of personnel matters, including review and appointment of employees and contract negotiations.
Motion.
Janine first, Shauna second, all in favor.
I'm a big fan of listening first. No problem. I have informal.
You're good?
Well, I want to check this first to make sure.
Good idea.
My first time doing it, I don't want to.
Make sure that we're not recording
your arm.
executive session.
Broke his finger.
What were you doing?
Trying to save my dog's tail.
Oh. What?
The door.
Oh.
Should have let her learn the lesson.
You gotta come up with a better story.
You should see the other guy. There you go.
Guys.
See, this is why we do it. We good?
Okay, welcome back.
It's not broadcasting.
It's on a delay. It'll take like 30 seconds.
Okay, good, all right. Action items, personnel report, first off. A motion to accept the resignation of BJ Shepherdson, Superintendent of Schools, effective September 30th, 2023.
Motion with thanks and regret.
Janine first. Elisa second, all in favor. Nobody wanted to raise their hand. A motion to appoint Tiffany Lynch, full-time custodian, 6-month probationary appointment for the negotiated hourly rate of the CSEA bargaining agreement, effective July 11th, 2023. Shauna first. Is it okay if I call you Ed? Okay, Ed second. All in favor? Motion to appoint the following faculty mentors. Can I do them all together, or?
I would do Christine Myers for alone, you can do the rest of them together.
Okay. Christine Wyatter, mentor coordinator for the WCBT TA bargaining agreement, effective 2023-24 school year. Shauna first, Janine second, all in favor? Okay. And a motion to approve the following faculty mentors. Ann Murphy, teacher mentor for the WCBTA bargaining agreement, effective 2023-24 school year. Emily Goggin, teacher mentor for the WCBTA bargaining agreement, effective 2023-24. Jessica Barber, teacher mentor for the WCBTA bargaining agreement, effective 2023-24. Kim Cristiano, teacher mentor for the WCBTA bargaining agreement, effective 2023-24 school year. Lisa Lawton, teacher mentor for the WCBTA bargaining agreement, effective 2023-24. Rebecca McCaw, teacher mentor for the WCBTA bargaining agreement, effective 23-24 school year. Janine first. Elisa second, all in favor. A motion to approve the extracurricular advisors.
You have an attached list there, we have them all filled, on there with their accurate stuff from their contract on there. There's no question, you can approve all of them.
Janine first. Shauna second, all in favor. Okay. A motion to approve the following substitutes. John Spike, interim elementary principal, effective July 5th, 2023. Pete first, Janine second, all in favor. A motion to approve Tracy Farber, substitute teacher assistant for the negotiated hourly rates of the CSEA bargaining agreement, effective July 5th, 2023.
Is that for summer school?
Yeah, just for the 2 months, she starts in
That-
September.
Really should be added on there.
Yeah,
That
we
it's
don't,
for summer, because she's also, we approved her for full-time.
yeah, in September
Over here.
1st. Yeah, she starts September 1st. Yep.
Okay.
Janine first. Elisa second, all in favor. Okay, discussion, capital project update.
So, obviously, if you've been in the building or around the building, you can see that the work's underway. I've been sending you updates on that. I also included a couple of the daily reports. I'm gonna send these to you, every so often when I think there's some decent pictures and things for you to see of the work going on. But we get these every day of who's there and so forth, so you can get an idea of how Kelly and I get reported on this. Obviously, we meet every week as well on all of this with the, we have an owners meeting, every couple weeks. And we have a subcontractors meeting every Thursday, so we go over all those things and what's going on. From the outside looking in, this one is, as we've talked about throughout the years, it's not a real visual project, other than a few dumpsters and things outside. So you can't see the work that's being done. If I took you under the pool, it's kind of crazy under there right now. So you can see all of our water systems and things like that. You saw when you walked in here tonight, they're starting to drain some of the piping and things like that are going on in there. The asbestos is basically done. There was a little bit downstairs, so they're finishing that up, and the cafeteria area, so that'll be cleared out of there. The dehumidification unit is on its way, correct?
This one is being removed Thursday or Friday, depending on the weather.
So you will see a crane here on Thursday.
Thursday is the target.
Yep.
Yes, it's raining.
So you'll see a crane here on Thursday. The crane's gonna come and take that off of the roof and remove it, and then they're going to put the curbing up there for the new one. And then the crane will be back when the new one gets here, and it'll be lifting the new unit back on the roof again. So you'll see that out there as well. As of right now, and Kelly, you could add anything to this at this point in time, we are on schedule with most of our things. We had to delay some of the new flooring that was being put on the cement in the bus garage just because the product isn't available until August, and we wanted to do that up front, but they'll do that in August, and that should be fine. Nothing right now is holding anything up at this point in time. I hate to even say it because, you know, but right now, so far, so good. Everything is on schedule, everybody's here. Once the asbestos clears, you know, then Priori can come in and start doing some more things that are here. Train is here, and you've seen some pictures of them pulling some of the old units out in some of the spaces. That's what the dumpster is for, those kinds of things that are out there. Anything else, Kelly, that's of real importance at this point in time after basically a few weeks worth of work here?
Yeah, some of the tanks are in under the pool. I don't know that they're all in there yet, but some of them are.
Okay.
Everything is on schedule or even ahead of schedule.
Yep, so the fuel tank is coming for outside for July 24th. So what you're gonna see out there, we've gotta do a little bit of reorganizing with the bus loop because that whole entrance to where our buses come in and make the loop around in the elementary circle, that'll be blocked off for that whole area because they're digging the old tank out, putting the new tank back into the ground there. So probably from the 24th for at least a few weeks, 2 to 4 weeks or so, that's gonna be unavailable on the entrance piece there. So what we're gonna end up doing, and Mr. Ray, I'm thinking you're probably gonna bring the buses in kind of backwards, swing them back around and drop the kids off. So we'll have to do a little bit of rearranging, but you won't be able to enter in into that area the way we normally would enter into the bus area. So that'll be all, you'll see that all fenced off and so forth there by the end of the month. And I think that's it for right now. Does anybody have any questions? I got phase 2 part of this, but I want to focus on what we're doing right now. Does anybody have any questions on what we're doing this summer as of right now? And like I said, I'll continue to keep sending you these things every once in a while and including them in our updates and so forth, so you can kind of track progress with me on all of this. Phase 2 of it, which is your field work next summer, is already underway. They've already started to do some of the drainage digging out there just to check what we've got. We have run into potentially a little bit of an issue with some bedrock out there. So they're going to come back again with a machine. This is right now for the light posts, correct, mainly?
Drainage and light posts,
Okay.
primarily light posts.
Yeah, so when they put those light posts in, they want to make sure they're not going to run into areas where the light posts are going to be located where they're going to run into bedrock. So they're going to be back next week or the end of this week.
They didn't have a schedule yet, but it will be soon.
Okay, so they'll be back to come back and do a little bit more digging out there, make sure that they've got everything in place for that as we go forward. So, and LaChase is all set for running into next summer with you with that project as well. We've signed up on them continuing to work. The same project manager we have right now will continue as the oversight for next summer, so he'll continue through, so that's good news too. He's done really well. As you know, we had to change that from the previous project, so he's new to us, but he's been absolutely super. So you're in real good hands with Fran, who's the on-site person right now. So all those things are going really, really well for the project. Like I said, I want to knock on wood because there hasn't really been anything, and all our contractors are meshing pretty well together with their blended work. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Does anybody have any questions at all on any of the project information?
Can we maybe snap a couple pics when the crane comes and
Yeah.
all that, and just put it on social media, let
Yep.
the people kind of know what's going on,
Yep,
see
sure.
what they voted for?
Yep, sure. I'll actually be able to put a few different pictures on social media to just kind of share some of even the things under the pool and things like that that are
Yep.
going on. Yep, no problem. Good idea.
I just got it back, actually, we've done this action item.
Okay. Yes, but we can go back and we do the search, so we'll go back and do that one as
Okay.
well. Yep, that's okay. All right, any other questions on the project? Okay.
Okay. Going to discuss the district administration vacancies.
Okay, so we have Mrs. Sandy Sherwood, our DS here tonight. I'll call her up in a minute to talk about the superintendent search and the process that is involved in that. It's been quite a while since you've had to do that. I just want to briefly, before I have her come up and speak a little bit about that, I want to talk about the other vacancies. As you know, we have an elementary principal job posted, we have a director of special programs job posted, and we have an athletic director job posted right now. I extended those postings through the end of the week, so we're still gathering applications on that. We'll start to move forward. As you know, we have somebody filling in at this point in time for the elementary principal. Mr. Doherty is still on both other roles until September 1st, so that role is being filled as we speak. But obviously, we want to have something in place by September 1st for all of those, and we're actively searching through those at this point in time. We've posted the job on social media. Thank you, Ms. Bartlett, for that. I said, how would you think of my?
I liked it.
All right,
I
I got
liked
some
it.
help. I can't say anything, but I got some help. I got some help for it. But anyway, we put that out, which is good. I've gotten some calls. We're getting some applications in. Again, you know, yes, you're under a timeline with that, but on the same token, really important positions in the district, so you want to, you know, make sure that you're going through a process that you want to, and getting people that you want in those positions, because, you know, those are long-term decisions for yourself. So, you know, I give you deadlines and things that we're shooting for, but again, there's always ways to manipulate that a little bit and go forward with that. So I really wanted to kind of just lay it out there that we have at least another week of postings. And if we go through the initial stages of this and you want to reopen it, we can do that as well. So, but we're on that. We're, you know, the focus is there, and I know all of you are really focused on those positions as well. I just didn't, although you're going to focus a lot on the superintendent search tonight, and rightfully so, those other positions are really, really important, and I'm going to be working really hard to help you with that along the way. So,
Thanks.
yep. All right. With that, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Sandy Sherwood, who is our current district superintendent at Herkimer BOCES. Just to give you a little background into this, you haven't done a search in a while because 8 years ago, you didn't do one for me. You didn't get to that point. So it has been probably 11 or 12 years since you've done, Sandy, what did we say that was,
2010.
2010 was the last time you've done an outright search for your superintendent. So I have Sandy here tonight to kind of take you through, give you this packet a little bit, and talk a little bit about what that process will look like as we went forward, if you choose to use BOCES and RDS for that position. So with that, Sandy, I'll turn it over to you, and you can kind of take everyone through that process.
Okay, so, hello, I'm Sandy, I know I hadn't met or Lisa before. And I'm sorry, I don't know if there's extra handouts. If you guys want them, I could get them to you. But essentially, this is one of the most important things that a board does, is to choose your next leader. So, tying right into what DJ just said about your other positions, it's very important to get the right person. So there's many different ways you can do that. If you have an internal candidate, the board can just appoint an internal candidate, that's fine. The board can conduct their own search. I have seen that a couple times over the years since I've been a superintendent, and it quite often ends up in a legal issue because there's so many laws around hiring, so it's kind of easy to misstep, so I definitely don't advise that. You can ask your district superintendent to do it, or you can hire a search consultant, and there are many search consultants out there. They range, right now they're averaging around $25,000 to $30,000. So the district superintendent costs you whatever postage, whatever printing, and then whatever mileage is involved, which is never close to $25,000. So that's why you see most districts going with a district superintendent, because first of all, he or she knows your district best and usually has a sense of your superintendent and how your what your community needs are. It's also easier for them to be more involved, especially coming out and meeting with stakeholders and things, because they're more proximal than some of your search consultants are out of Albany or out of Syracuse or out of Rochester. depending on what consultant firm you go with. So those are your choices of how you can do it. Once you make that decision, which, if it is the district superintendent, if it's gonna be me, there's actually resolution language that you need to approve, because this is one of the authorities that the state education department gives the district superintendents, the right to conduct searches on behalf of the boards. So if you do decide that tonight, then you would need to go ahead and pass that resolution in a public session. What I'm gonna share right now is all public session material. If that's the road we're going on though, in order to keep as tight a timeline as possible, so you have the shortest interim window as possible, we would wanna try to make a few decisions later today as far as some basic parameters so that we can start shaping a vacancy announcement and a brochure. So to that end, one of the things you have in your packet is the very beautiful purple 2010 application and brochure. The application is actually inside your brochure. And then and this is the glossy print. So this would be one thing if you wanted these printed. Nowadays, a lot of the information is just done digitally, but we do usually still print 20 to 30, so you have some in your office, like available should someone come to visit. But that's up to you, how you want to handle that. Digital is definitely more predominant, and then the application would be digital also, so they would all come in like that. So I give that to you because, as DJ said, it's the last record, at least we have at BOCES, of the last time that we helped you with a search. And honestly, it's a pretty attractive brochure, so we could just do some updating of it and, new pictures, new dates, and all that kind of stuff, and pretty much use this, which would also move the process forward faster. So in your packet, there are two different handouts. One is just a little 2-page handout called General Overview of the Search Process, and that's kind of what I'm walking through right now. But there's also a bigger little packet that's called Selecting a New Superintendent of Schools. And that's the one that really gets to some of the decision-making and timelines, so I'll get to that one in a minute. But coming back to some of those early decisions that the board has to make, you need to think about, there's basically two kinds of searches, an open search and a closed search. Closed searches are getting more popular in some of the bigger communities. The closed search, the process is completely confidential. So you could put out a survey and get stakeholder input, but the stakeholders never see the candidates. The board controls the whole process, so there's never an announcement of how many finalists or anything like that. An open search is confidential, typically right up until the board determines 2 or 3 finalists, and then those 2 or 3 finalists are announced publicly, and then there's some type of stakeholder interview process, and even perhaps a community forum, so that the whole community can see your finalists and you can get the feedback. That is entirely the decision of the Board of Education. There is no right or wrong. I've done 4 superintendent searches in our region. They have all been open. They have all been confidential up until finalists, and then finalists announced, and then stakeholder input. But we've also done stakeholder input at the very beginning, just asking what are some characteristics you'd like to see in your next superintendent? What are things you're proud of? What are some things that maybe you'd like to see changed, or areas where you'd like to see growth? And we could do that survey almost immediately, and that way the board kind of gets a sense of what the community is thinking, what the community is feeling, and that can be a document that can actually serve the board in a lot of different ways down the road, not just for the search. But it also starts giving you the traits that perhaps you're looking for in your next superintendent. So that's something I've done with all 4 of the searches, even during COVID. We still did that. Everything was remote for 2 of the 4 searches. But then we can also hold stakeholder interviews later in the process once finalists are announced. And that's typically going to be a teacher group, perhaps an admin or management confidential group, depending on how it works here, a support staff group, and then maybe parents. And then, like I said, you might have a community forum, which there's a couple different ways to do that, so that you get all that feedback. But it's the board's decision. Regardless of how we do this, it's your decision. So any feedback you get on any candidate is for you to determine is it good, is it bad? Is it the person you're looking for, or isn't it? Because only the Board of Education will have all the information. We'll have seen all of the interviews, we'll have seen any reference checks, we'll have seen all of the different materials that come in. You're the only ones who get to see the whole picture. You're the only ones who get to see the stakeholder feedback from all the different stakeholder groups, because maybe one group loved candidate X, but 3 groups were terrified by candidate X, you know, and you would be the only ones to really discern that. So that's why it always remains a Board of Education's decision. If you ask me to do the search, like in here it talks about a screening interview that I would do as applications come in, but it's not so much, I wouldn't really call it a screening interview, because these are your applicants. You're going to get all of them presented to you, including perhaps some that aren't certified for the position, which I would strongly urge you not to consider, because that'll only get you in trouble down the road. But they are your candidates, and it is your decision. So I don't filter your list for you. I can give you feedback on, like, in those interviews, what did I hear? Because I look at the interview, and DJ knows this from recent experience, it's a two-way street. I'm interviewing them to get a sense of their priorities, of their long-term goals, but they're also starting to get a sense of your district. They're starting to get a sense of what is this region and how do we operate. So it's every interview is a two-way street of the candidate interviewing you and you interviewing them. Yeah.
Now, these are in-person interviews?
It can be in person or it can be by Zoom. I've been offering either one because sometimes you have candidates that are some distance away. So when I do it, I offer either one. Once it comes time for the board to interview, you tell me whether you want to have in-person or Zoom. And I will say, if you're going to allow Zoom for the first interview, don't allow Zoom for the second, because people don't interview the same. You know,
That's my
so
point.
yeah, so you know, that's just a caution. I would say, don't go 100% virtual, not at the board level, because typically what I'm going to recommend, and you'll see this in the little booklet. Page 2, I tried to lay out a pretty aggressive timeline for you, based on just looking at, DJ sent me your proposed meeting dates, so I was trying to work around them. You would have to add some additional meetings, because you're gonna need to make some decisions, and you're gonna need to review candidate information, you're gonna have to develop questions, but I recommend, if you go down through this list, initial meeting with the board is actually tonight. This is premised on if you appoint me. Obviously, if you don't, you still have this timeline to work from, but with somebody else. Discussion of attributes, salary, residency, that just needs to happen. Some of it needs to happen while we're developing the brochure, but some of it can also be a little bit down the road. Because again, we could put out a survey out on social media and on your website to get some feedback from different people. Do you use Parent Square?
Yep.
So you could send out a survey on Parent Square. There's lots of different ways right now to get information back from people, especially if you keep it short, like the 3 questions I proposed, you know. What are you looking for in your next superintendent? What are you proud of and you want to make sure your next superintendent knows? And then what are some things you'd like to see changed or areas we could grow? 3 simple questions, but it'll give you a lot of feedback typically. So then we need to get the vacancy announcement. If you like this vacancy announcement, this brochure, and we just need to update it, we probably could have it done and ready to go by July 24th. That's 2 weeks, so that's tight. But if we start with this platform, it should be pretty easy to update. Printed, if we need it, we can get them printed, but we could also send it out electronically even while we're getting them printed. So you at least have some, I think it's good to have some in your office. You know, so if people stop by, you have it there. The meeting with the faculty, I put NA in the summer, but what I'm thinking is that maybe on one of your opening days, I would come up here and just talk to your staff about the process and how the board decides who want to involve your internal stakeholders, and then we also have to talk about what about parents and what about your community business partners, those kind of things. So that, I've got an NA for summer, but again, maybe it would be one of your opening days, just a window of time. Input with constituency group, that's kind of that assets and opportunities, that's kind of what I was just talking about. We can do that via a survey and get that out soon. I really recommend that be done well before your application closes, because you don't want people hearing rumors about who's applying and then sending in survey results based on what they're hearing. You want this very authentic. What do we want here in West Canada Valley? Not who do you think might be applying, and are you hedging your bet for them or against them? That's not what we want. So we get that out soon, and we close it well before the application closes. Deadline for receipt, I put down September 1st. That would be a little over a month, depending on what kind of essay questions you want. We could shorten it, we could lengthen it. I premised it on usually it's about 4 or 5 weeks. So that's roughly in that timeline. Like I said, the preliminary interviewing, I would just do as applications come in, because one of the things that I believe is when somebody applies for a position, out of respect for their application, I want to get to them soon. And I want to let them know, we see your application, and let's talk about this, let me get a sense of who you are. And then we can set up however you want to do it, as far as how often you want applicant. Maybe you want, like, every time I have 3 applicants, then I send you that material. Maybe you want it every time we get a completed application. Whatever you want, we can set up and take care of for you. And then I do reference checks up front, because the last thing I want is for you to fall in love with somebody and then do the reference checks and find out there's problems, you know? So, and again, a reference check that comes back bad doesn't necessarily mean the candidate is bad, because there's fit. There's just places that other leadership turns over and they no longer really feel like they fit there, or they feel like they can't grow. We just lost a wonderful principal because we didn't have a place for him to grow, and it was time for him to grow, and he got an opportunity at another BOCES. I would write him a glowing recommendation, you know. I hate that I lost him, but he has the right to grow. So, and then we need to talk about the parameters for the contract. That's ongoing. Typically, a superintendent's contract is going to be initially is a 3-year contract. By law, it could be up to 5, but it's not recommended that you start with 5. But when you think about 3, like I did have a board once ask me, well, what about a 1-year? Well, you're asking somebody to give up probably a tenured position, possibly move their entire family to your region, if not your district, for a year. You're just not gonna get the same candidate pool if you do that. Which brings me to the whole residency. I noticed in your 2010, you don't require residency. You require them to live where they can come and be part of all of the things you expect them to be part of. That's really good language, actually, because if you require in-district residency and they come and they look and there's really no good housing on the market at the time they're looking, you could lose a candidate just because you don't have something within your district at that moment. Or perhaps the spouse is not in a position where they can just come with them at that point, so they kind of want to, you know, move closer but not totally have to pull a spouse or children out of a school. So there's lots of reasons that people might not want to completely move into your district. So your language in your 2010 brochure is very nice language. We'll need to set up some interviews for the board. I recommend the board do at least 2 rounds of interviews before you make any kind of decision. One is going to be very initial, maybe 45 minutes. Let's just say you have 10 applicants and 6 of them you're kind of excited about. Then you bring in all 6. And we just find a couple nights, bring in all 6. Again, you could do it via Zoom. It's not the same as interviewing in person. But you bring them in, you have 45 minutes to an hour maybe with each one. And then from that, you decide how many have sparked your interest even more and you want to go deeper. And then you bring that subgroup back for a longer interview. In the second interview, you might consider an entry plan where they have to kind of lay out how would they come into your district, what would their first steps be. That's a very reasonable thing. You can also ask them to present it to you, because what does the superintendent do a lot of? Presenting, you know, so it gives you a sense of how do they prepare for a presentation, how do they present? Do they use a digital media? Do they use just paper? Do they do a combination? So that would also just give you one more aspect of your new superintendent to consider. So, and then there can be a 3rd round, depending on your candidate pool. And we won't know what that is until the application's closed. Just no idea. one of our districts in a neighboring BOCES had a vacancy about this size, and they had 9 very good candidates. Well, obviously, only one of them got the job. So there may be some good candidates out there looking for this general region, and that's of course our hope. And then you have to decide if you're conducting the open search, the stakeholders. So I laid this out with a really aggressive timetable, thinking that you'd want to have the person here by January 1st. Obviously, you can move that back and that slows things down. That was a lot of information. Any questions that come right to mind?
Sandy, you talked to them just a little bit about the interim piece of that transition time there, just a little bit how that might work for them, and your
Okay.
role potentially in that as well.
Right. So another thing that the DS frequently helps with is trying to find an interim, actually any position, but superintendent is particularly the DS's. And so we have some networks of usually retired superintendents who would consider coming back to serve in an interim in a district. So I'd be happy to help you with that. DJ and I and Jessica and Shauna had a brief conversation, threw out some names, some possibilities. I haven't reached out to anyone yet because we're not there yet, and you haven't appointed me, and I would not presume to do your business until you tell me to. But there are, and when you think interim, it doesn't necessarily mean the person's going to be here every day. Again, remember, this is someone who probably retired from a superintendency, and they may be starting other parts of their life, so maybe they only want to come 3 days a week, or 2 days a week, or as needed. So beginning of the year, let's see, DJ's here till September 30th, so October, yeah, you got your school year started, it should be quieting down, but November, you're starting your budget process with some seriousness, so yeah, so you kind of, you might need the person a little more there,
We're
so.
headed to Florida too.
One of the reasons that January 1st is here
Uh-huh.
is because some of the retired superintendents, in fact, do go south. And so while some of them might delay their plans, some of them wouldn't. So that's kind of where I thought January 1st would be an ideal timeline, because a lot of them do actually like to stay up here in New York through Christmas, because it's pretty, because it's family, because it's tradition. But then come January and the bitter cold, they're out of here. So that's kind of how that works. And then you set a rate for that person, you negotiate essentially with the person for what's their daily rate and what your expectations are. You certainly don't expect your interim to necessarily be at all the athletic events and the musicals and the drama or any of that kind of stuff, the way you would a superintendent. A lot of them would attend anyways, but you don't typically set that as an expectation because they're really not a long timer. They're not looking to really build a community at that level. Other questions?
I just wanted to point out, we did discuss earlier, but and I think I speak for everybody, not being in a rush. So that interim is an important piece because I think Jess and I both verbalized that we don't want to, in the community that's listening, we don't want to rush this. It's got to be the right person.
Absolutely. And so if we stuck to this timeline and we got let's say we get it out July 24th and we say September 1st. And September 1st, we've got a candidate pool, but it's not as big as we want. We could extend that deadline and we could get it out that we've extended the deadline. We could re-advertise and see, social media is huge, even for superintendents. And then advertising in like SANES, which is the School Administrators Association of New York State, or at NISCUS, which is the New York State Council of School Superintendents. Those are 2 places that people looking for a superintendency in New York, those are places they look. So we could just renew that online, which does have a cost. That's one of the things that does cost, but it's not unreasonable. But yeah, it's more important to, you kind of get into a little bit of a conundrum, because on the one hand, you might have a couple of really good candidates in that first pool. You don't want to lose them by reopening, so you might actually start doing some interviewing while you extend that deadline, so that you don't lose anybody who's really high quality. And they're out there.
Do you have local interims, retired?
We have
We have
one
any-
that we
we
would
have
reach out to.
You
Yeah.
have some?
What they wanna do with, you know, it's like I keep saying, I don't know what I'm gonna do exactly when I grow up, but I know it's gonna be a lot of yes to family.
right here with
Yes. Well, and that's the other thing, I mean, so the other thing going on here is, of course, my retirement's September 30th. This goes beyond September 30th, which then either DJ or my assistant superintendents would be more involved helping to move it forward, or if the board preferred, we could ask either Trish Kilburn, who's the district superintendent at OHM, or Scott Boodleman, who's the superintendent at MO BOCES, to pick it up and take it from there. It would really be what you prefer, you know, and that's not typical, but it can be done.
So, does anybody else have any other questions for Sandy here before we talk about the direction you want to go with this? So if you choose, if this is the route that you would like to go, then you have a resolution that's in your packet that would be in there, that we would pass tonight. And if you choose to pass that resolution to get this started with, Mrs. Sherwood getting you started with this, tomorrow, you know, in the next days, we start to get all the things started that she said she was going to get started, and then, you know, I'd encourage you, Jess, maybe to go into an executive at the end and talk a little bit more of the confidential pieces of this.
Okay. Okay. We are discussing the 2024. Oh, you do it now?
Yeah,
I
might
thought
as
you
well,
wanted us to discuss first. Okay.
Yeah, you can, I mean, is there further discussion on this topic? If not, we can pass that.
Okay, sure. Okay, a motion to approve the resolution. Read this whole thing. Okay. Hold on, I just gotta- all right, a motion to approve the resolution that the West Canada Valley Central School District Board of Education authorizes District Superintendent Sandra R. Sherwood to be the search consultant to the board for the purpose of recruiting a superintendent of schools, and to furthermore reimburse the Herkimer, Fulton, Hamilton, Otsego, BOCES for expenses related to the process. The West Canada Valley Central School District agrees to defend and indemnify Sandra R. Sherwood with respect to any claim and/or civil action arising out of the performance of such duties to the maximum extent permitted by law.
What is, question?
Yes.
What is the expense?
So,
What range are we talking?
So it depends, some of it depends on what you choose as far as advertising.
According to this resolution.
Yeah, those are the expenses
It says
related.
expenses related to the process. What do
Right,
we?
the process would be mileage coming out here for meetings, would be postage, mailing anything out, would be the printing cost, which we would pay at BOCES, but then you would reimburse, and by the way, that means you get paid on it. And then advertising, I did get the costs of some of the advertising, so it depends on where you wanna advertise as far as those costs. I did get a couple for you. Typically, mileage has never been more than $150, and that was for a pretty remote district. Postage, it was $20 was the most, because like I said, most things are digital now.
It's gone up now.
True. And the last time we did a search brochure printing, we did it at MO BOCES, and it was $80. So,
That just gives me some idea.
yep.
Okay,
Gives you an
Ed
idea.
was first, Janine second, all in favor? Okay,
You wanna do the other action?
Sure.
And then we'll do the last discussion. Okay.
a motion to approve the transportation request.
So as I mentioned, you have an action item that you have to approve or deny tonight at your meeting. Is there any other questions on this before we motion or vote on this?
Okay, is there a motion to approve the transportation request?
Could I suggest you just reword that?
Okay.
You
Sure.
might wanna just reword it to be motion to consider the transportation request,
Okay,
because I think
thank
the
you.
reluctance is, I don't want to motion
Right.
to approve it and then
Okay.
vote no. So perhaps just
Okay,
change
a
the
motion
wording in
to
your motion.
consider the transportation request. Okay, Shauna first, Ed second, all in favor.
Consider,
No.
okay.
And then I would say yes, and then I would say no. Right, right?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? No.
Are you in favor of considering it?
Yes.
Yes.
Consider.
That's where it's confusing, I think, so we're,
Yeah.
So everyone's in favor of considering it.
but we're not actually,
Not actually approving,
okay?
What was the vote?
So-
All in favor?
To consider,
All in favor to
to
consider?
consider. Yes.
Yes.
So it's,
yes. So, Sandy, I know that you mentioned that, they have to approve or deny it, though.
Right, right. So now I would just do ask for discussion
Yep.
and then say all in favor of approving this request,
Yep.
all
Okay.
in favor of denying.
Okay.
okay.
In favor of approving.
Okay, all in favor of approving this request? And all in favor of denying the request? Am I saying that correctly? Okay.
Can we discuss it a little bit?
Yeah, you can discuss a little bit.
I'm kind of torn because I feel like, I understand where there's a deadline and we should go by a deadline, but at the same time, these are kids that need to get to a school that maybe these parents are thinking that it's a better opportunity for them. So, I don't know, I'm really kind of torn, so I guess any other input? I know they've had.
Any
some
other
time, but-
input?
So I will say, I do want to make mention of this as well. All right, so you're motioning to consider it, which we're discussing right now, before you approve or deny it. Approving something to happen for somebody doesn't mean it locks you into approving every single one, okay? So I want to make that clear. But I do want you to also understand that as a board, when you're considering these kinds of things, you're gonna wanna consider, why you're approving this particular situation where others may not have been approved in the past, or, down the road, how are you separating this case from another case? That's kind of how I would encourage you to think about this a little bit. What about this one in particular would make you approve it over another one that you would deny? Those kinds of questions in your own mind. You know what I mean? So, because you're gonna have to have a clear separation if you're going to approve one and not approve another one later on in life here, as to why, to be able to answer that question, why one was approved and one was not.
And is this the Mohawk Valley Christian Academy, is that in Little Falls?
Yep, it's right on,
Okay.
right on Monroe Street, Little Falls.
So we don't go to Little Falls for anything, like Little Falls, that area for anything?
Nothing right now, Mr. Ray, correct?
Nope.
No, because if we were, then we wouldn't really be, if this was an additional student and the bus was already going to Mohawk Valley Christian Academy for whatever reason, this would be a different discussion than you're taking.
If you refer back to the SED printout that I gave you guys, there's actually a piece in there that says if we were already going to that district. SED makes it pretty clear what's reasonable and unreasonable, so I would suggest you guys make sure you look at what they have written in their SED regulations.
But if this was before the deadline, we'd have to approve it.
Correct. So next year, if they apply for it next year prior to April 1st, let's hypothetically say they choose, it's denied for this year due to the deadline, not being met. Next year, if they enroll them, or next year they decide to stay home this year and then enroll them next year, as long as they get that in before April 1st, then we would be driving to the Mohawk Valley Christian Academy the following year. Because if they live within the mileage requirement for it.
We're also required if somebody new moves into the district, they have to apply for that within 30 days of moving into the district. We would have to give them transportation then too.
What is the mileage requirement?
15.
15
Is it
miles.
15?
From their residency to the school they attend.
Right.
So like Notre Dame has multiple schools, it'd have to be the school that they attend.
have we ever, we've already approved bus lists.
Yep.
How many of those people on that list actually fill out a form like this?
Fill out the request. Typically, they either contact you verbally or the school they're attending sends the request to us.
So they actually, we said yes to them,
Yes.
but they actually never filed
Yeah, they did.
a form.
Yes, they send us the form before April 1st.
Yeah.
And usually we get a form from the parent and from the school. We normally get two.
Do we have forms, these forms from the Amish?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, when they were doing it, yeah.
We do.
They're handwritten.
So really, the only situation here is they're late,
They're late.
and they didn't realize it.
They didn't realize they were late.
And that's one of the things that's laid out in the printout I gave you from the SED.
Any other comments? Okay, so, again, motion to approve the transportation request. Right, sorry, Elisa, first. Any seconds? Okay, motion to deny the transportation request. Shauna first. Ed second, and all in favor of denying the transportation request. 3. Opposed?
Why would,
Are you denying?
no,
Okay, so we have 3.
3 and 3.
Yes. 3. Elisa, what are you voting? So, 3, and I'm, no. I'm denying. The wording is.
4. Mr. Kemmer, you were voting to approve the transportation request?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, so two were voting to approve it.
2 yes, 3 no.
4 no. Okay.
Sorry, I've never had one of those, so it was
That's
kind of.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the verdict?
So the transportation's denied. Yep.
Okay, now we're going to discuss the 2024 ceremonies.
So this, I think this is a fairly brief discussion unless others have ideas. So next year, and the reason I'm bringing this up next year, for next year's ceremonies is because you're in a phase 2 of your project on your football/soccer field out there. So beginning in May next year, that's gonna be a big dirt hole out there and being dug out and drained. So you can't run your outside ceremonies for the honors banquet, athletic banquet, and pre-K graduations, and graduation, even though we didn't have that in there this year with the weather. So, the reason I'm bringing that up now is because this is typically the time we order all of the materials for next summer, because we want to make sure we have them reserved ahead of time to be able to hold the ceremony outside. So, basically, my recommendation to you, if everybody's in agreement with this, is to move all of your ceremonies back into the auditorium for the 2023-2024 school year. You can make a decision later on down the road when your projects are done, whether you want to keep it inside or go back outside and what you want to do with that. But the only other option you have for next year is to go off-site somewhere, which we've never done, or find another place on this campus that you want to set up the tent and chairs and hold an outdoor ceremony that is not the football and track area. The easiest option for you is to move it into the auditorium, so that's why I bring that up as situation. So I wanted to open that up for discussion just so I could have some direction for you on planning for next year.
How many seniors next year? You remember?
I think it's in the 40s again.
Yeah,
40s.
46.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
46
think it's in the 40s. And that's what you were 45 this year, so you,
I'll tell you, I heard a lot of nice comments that it was inside.
yeah.
They said it was beautiful, they could see the kids. You can't see the kids on that
Tough.
tent.
Yep,
And number 2, you won't be here,
yeah,
but you'll hear the noise.
yeah.
Nobody's gonna put a stake in that new field.
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah, you'd have to.
You hear me,
down,
Mr. Doherty?
down the
He's
road,
not gonna be there.
No tenant on that field, I'm telling you right now.
So down-
Because you make a hole in that, you've got a problem.
down the road, you'd have a if you're gonna be on the turf, you'd have a different option for that. Yeah, you wouldn't be.
Whether I'm here or not, they are not gonna do that again.
Yeah.
You've got a beautiful auditorium, it worked out perfect. We had a lot of people said it was absolutely fantastic
Yep.
inside.
Yep.
Keep it there.
After sitting through both of them, I do agree you could see the kids.
Yep.
When you are at the tent, we were on the side and we saw the kids that were right near us. You couldn't see the kids at the opposite end. Couldn't see the kids in the second row.
Yep.
So, and the sixth graders didn't wanna be outside, so.
Yeah.
We took them into consideration and then they didn't be outside, they were
Listen,
outside.
it also helps, I'll be honest with you, it helps, us with handicap access, all those kinds of things are a lot easier getting
Absolutely.
people in and out inside.
Just
So,
watching it like online, you could see.
I could see everybody except the fellows girl. She
Yep.
was the only student I could not see,
Yeah.
because she was right behind the podium.
okay.
So that she's the
We'll have
only
to
one
think
I
about
could
that
not
for
see.
next year, maybe.
Yeah, well, we were the first 3 seats over in the corner,
Oh,
but Reese was the only student I couldn't see.
Okay, so we don't need any motion for that. Everybody's in
Well,
agreement that we're gonna be inside?
The first class is next year, you know. 1964 was the first class that graduated. They were out front.
Okay.
Oh, I remember that, out under the awning.
Yes.
I mean, I
If you
don't
wanna
remember
have it outside,
1964.
there's a place for it.
Yep.
People
I
can sit in
remember
a
when it used to
circle,
be out there.
pitch their tents, do whatever
Mine
they
was
want to
outside
do.
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Smoke.
Oh my gosh.
So we're good with leaving them inside?
Yeah.
Okay, so your ceremonies, I'll let Mr. Broadbent know that. The ceremonies next year will all be indoors in the auditorium for next year.
Absolutely.
And then you can go with where you wish after that. Okay, thank you for that.
Okay. Announcements, August 7th, 2023 is our next regular meeting, which is a little
A
earlier.
little bit, yeah, just the Monday before, yeah. It's not really early August, but it's earlier.
And then we will have a special meeting if necessary on August 28th, 2023. Public comments? No public comments. Okay. Motion to enter executive session to discuss administrative openings. Janine first? Pete? Not Pete. Pete, I think you're over there.
We messed him up.
All in favor?
Yeah, but every time you ask for a no, you look right at me.